I was 30, and the city felt older than ever. Older than the cracked steps of the River Ghats where I sat nights with a paper cup of tea. Older than the mosques that timed my mornings. Older than the ache in my chest that came when the streetlights blinked on. Dhaka has a way of remembering for you. It holds your mistakes in the corners of alleyways, stalks your secrets behind tin shutters, whispers your fears back at you when you pass mirrored glass at midnight. I was a planner by trade, a storyteller by hunger. I scripted other people's narratives for YouTube. Love, war, drama, anything that could turn a view into a life raft. By day I tweaked thumbnails and teased titles into hooks. By night I told myself I was too busy to want someone. In truth, I was afraid. Love had never been a cliff I knew how to measure. I wanted guardrails. Love had none. I first saw Maya through a lens. She walked into the co-working space where I rented a single desk. A tall girl in a teal kurta and white sneakers, hair in a messy knot, phone pressed to her cheek, smile grazing every surface like a hand trailing through water. She said, "Hey!" to the front desk, a little breathless, as if she'd run from an argument and somehow won. Her laughter came first, like glass beads spilling, and then her eyes found my monitor. I was twisting a title, swapping destiny for fate, trying to squeeze 1% more click-through from the tired bones of a love story that never existed. "Do you really believe in those?" she asked me, pointing at the word fate. "Only when the algorithm does," I said. She cracked a grin. "I'm Maya, new here, documentary editor. Not good with small talk." "I'm Zion," I said. "Good with small talk. Bad with fate." It took us exactly 3 conversations to become a habit. Morning nods while the barista steamed milk, lunchtime jokes about the guy who tried to sell courses on getting rich from making courses, late afternoon complaints about clients who wanted miracles for free. By the end of the week, my playlists had her name in them, as if pressing repeat could keep her in the room. On Friday evening, storms muscled the sky purple and green. In the rain-muted hum, the city held its breath. She stared out the big window at the pitted road, at the rickshaw bells slicing the weather in neat, determined chimes. "Do you ever get tired of endings?" she asked. "Constantly," I said. "Then let's start something," she said, and looked at me like a dare. I nodded. "Tea? Bolder," she said. "Tell me a story you've never put on the internet." So I told her about the first time I thought I was in love. How I mistook silence for safety. How I stayed long past the expiration date of hope. How I learned to leave quietly. She listened without building an argument. When I finished, she touched my forearm with the gentle specificity of someone picking a lock. "Start this one loudly," she said. "Let it hear you coming." And just like that, the city remembered for me. It remembered how to open. There are rooms that rewire the air when someone steps inside. Maya's apartment did that to me. It was on the 3rd floor of a narrow building with a paint-chipped stairwell and a landlord who grew bougainvillea on his balcony like it was a declaration of war against dust. Her door opened to a space that shouldn't have held so much light. 2 windows faced each other across the room. One toward the street, with buses coughing past and hawkers bargaining at a pitch you could feel in your teeth. The other toward a courtyard with a neem tree and a blue plastic chair the color of cheap summer. 2 windows, she said, seeing me see it. 1 to watch people leave, 1 to watch them stay. And which am I? I asked, trying to sound casual, failing. You're a Tuesday, she said. That's not an answer. It is, she said, grinning. Tuesdays are for routines that turn into rituals. She kept 3 mugs on a shelf, all chipped in different places, as if life had negotiated with each cup separately. She brewed ginger tea and handed me the mug with the smoothest crack. For first chapters, she said. I learned quickly how Maya made a life, a mosaic of small reckonings. She edited documentaries about working women, garment factory organizers, roadside mechanics, a school teacher who taught math at a ferry terminal because girls missed class when the river rose. She kept a bulletin board above her desk with Polaroids pinned in slightly crooked rows, boots on a muddy road, hands braided together during a protest, a child blowing rice chaff like confetti. There was an empty space in the top right corner, reserved, she said, for evidence that kindness can be an instruction. Does kindness need proof? I asked. It needs practice, she said. Proof is for courts and skeptics. Her phone rang often. She'd pick up with a producer's calm, say, "Tell me what you see," and somehow pull the truth out of someone else's throat. If there was a thing that hooked me more than the tilt of her mouth, or the way her eyes dared the world to blink first, it was this. She made other people's stories safer inside her hands. We started to sound like a couple without declaring a treaty. My mother noticed first, because mothers are satellites that intercept frequencies you didn't mean to broadcast. She asked on a Sunday call, "Baba, are you sleeping enough?" "I'm content," I said. "That's an answer to a different question," she replied, a smile in her voice. "Invite her to dinner," I said I would. I didn't, not yet. There was a superstition in me that wanted to keep Maya in the city's mouth, not in the ledger of family introductions. I liked us as a rumor to ourselves. One night, after a day spent troubleshooting an export that refused to render, she sank into the blue plastic chair and closed her eyes. "Tell me one lie," she said. "Something kind." "You will never doubt me," I said gently. Her smile faded a fraction, like a power cut in a far neighborhood. She opened her eyes. "Better make it 2 lies then," she said softly. I tucked the moment away, labeled it foreshadowing. Even then, a writer in me couldn't help but name the shadows. Trust is not an object, I learned. It's a choreography. It's how you move when the lights go out. It's how you answer questions that weren't asked. By the second month, we had our own choreography. I'd leave the co-working space first and wait at the crosswalk by the pharmacy where the owner's son did homework on a stool and looked up to recite the capitals of countries just to hear someone clap. Maya would emerge with her backpack slung over one shoulder, strands of hair escaping whatever knot she had negotiated with gravity that morning. We would converge like 2 separate announcements that turned into 1 sentence. "I found a new story," she'd say, always, as greeting. A seamstress who trained men twice her size. A tea-stall poet who wrote villanelles on the back of phone bills. A woman who coded from midnight to dawn because her baby slept only when the city didn't. "I found a new thumbnail," I'd answer. as a joke, and she'd laugh because love makes translation possible between silliness and pride. We learned each other's economies. She saved for trips, Kolkata to watch her favorite dancer perform, Sylhet to interview a tea garden nurse, Cox's Bazaar to collect a fisherman's song. I saved for gear, a better microphone, a lens that drank more light, the software that could pull a face out of shadow without breaking it. "Let me film you," I said once. When she came back annoyed from a shoot where a man refused to be directed by a woman, "No," she said, then softened. "Not yet. I'd rather you keep me unedited." We didn't say, "I love you." We said things like, "I want to call you when nothing is wrong, and I bought a second helmet for the scooter, and do you want the last piece?" Then one Wednesday night, while we untangled a story about a woman who faked her death to leave an abusive marriage, Maya fell quiet. "What?" I asked. "I'm happy," she said, as if admitting to a crime. "That's allowed." "Sometimes," she said. "Sometimes happiness feels like a borrowed coat, like it still smells like the last person who wore it." "Keep it anyway," I said. "Make it smell like you." She turned her head toward me, as if calibrating a compass. "Zion," she said, and it felt like hearing my name for the first time, like a key tried in the right door. "Hold this with both hands." "I'm holding," I said. "And if a storm comes?" "I'll be the wall." She nodded and looked relieved. I didn't know then that sometimes walls are just postponements, that storms learn your blueprint and enter through the vents. The first static came as noise from the past, an old friend named Saad, who used to share my desk at university and once believed he could turn a C grade into a legacy by sheer ambition. Saad worked now at a startup that sold hope to people who had run out of it. I had learned to swallow my skepticism because he had learned to frame his hustle as charity. He bounced into the co-working space one afternoon, all teeth and swagger, spotted me, and doubled back like a magnet struck a steel door. "Zion Bai!" he shouted. "You ghost!" "Present tense," I said, grinning despite myself. Saad was a gravity field. Resisting him required calories. He launched into plans like Fireworks, a series about real Dhaka love stories, a sponsorship that almost existed, a brand partnership that would definitely exist if we said the word synergy loud enough. "We'll need a female lead for episode 1, he said. "Not an actor, real. Someone who looks like the city is her last name." "Maya," I said before caution could catch up. "She edits documentaries." "Perfect," he said. "Let me charm her." I pictured him charming her, the practiced pivot of the body toward a camera, the joke about authenticity, the laugh that tried to fill a room and often succeeded. A small unease pressed a thumb to the back of my neck, then retreated like a mosquito that had changed its mind. Maya agreed to meet him. "For you," she told me. "But if he says authentic more than 3 times, I'll invoice him for the air." They met at a cafe that served coffee in mugs sized like declarations. I tagged along, tried to let Saad sell, tried not to flinch when he sold too hard. He kept saying we're building something new and kept not saying what it paid. Maya listened with the flat, polite face of a documentarian assessing a scene she would later cut. "Here's the thing," she said finally, leaning back. "I don't want to be your story. I want to make it. If you need a female lens, I'm your person. If you need a female face you can crop to make men feel progressive, call someone else." "Savage," Saad said, laughing too loudly. "I like that. I liked it too and hated that he might like it for the wrong reason." On the way out, Maya squeezed my hand. "Your friend is a grenade that thinks it's a flashlight," she said. "You noticed," I said. "Who taught you metaphors?" she asked, smirking. "You," I said. "You in the city." A week later, a glitch crept into our choreography. Maya stopped answering texts as quickly. She said the edit suite swallowed time. Once, at her apartment, her phone lit up with Saad's name. She silenced it without looking, but my stomach pitched. "He's persistent," she said, catching my eyes. I told him no. "He hears maybe in 14 languages. I trust you," I said, and I did. I didn't yet know that trust and fear can sleep on the same pillow. We were on the scooter in monsoon drizzle, the road slick as fresh teeth, when Maya asked me, "Do you ever keep a part of yourself aside?" "For emergencies." "Like savings?" I said. "Like escape routes." I thought of the stories we told to make our lives tidy, the edits we made so others could forgive us. "Sometimes," I admitted. "A little room in my head that has my name on the door." "I have one too," she said, "but lately I keep misplacing the key." We cut through traffic like needle and thread. I wanted to say, "I'm your safe room," but that would have been seductive and untrue. Nobody is anybody's whole escape. Her phone buzzed in my pocket. She'd tucked it there because her bag zipper had broken, and the rain chose its favorite seams to widen. I felt the soft quake against my thigh. It buzzed again, then stayed like a hand on a shoulder. When we stopped under the awning of a pharmacy to let the rain harden into something navigable, I handed the phone to her. The screen showed 3 messages from an unsaved number. Unknown. "Are you serious about this or not?" Unknown. Don't vanish on me. We're on a timeline. Unknown. I need an answer by tonight. Maya's jaw tightened. "Client," she said quickly, too quickly. "What client?" I asked. "A small NGO," she said. "They're impatient." The rain performed theater on the corrugated tin. I nodded because people deserve the dignity of their own explanations. I nodded because I believed that love was a room where you don't frisk someone at the door. But the phone, traitor to equanimity, buzzed again. Unknown. I'm not the enemy. But secrets are. Maya put the phone away and forced brightness into her voice. "Let's get biryani. The place near Nilket that uses too much mint." "Sure," I said, and didn't ask more. The half-truth floated between us like a buoy. It didn't sink. It didn't save. That night in her apartment, while we ate from a shared plate and watched an old black and white film where lovers never touched. I felt the absence of a sentence neither of us could afford to say. She leaned into me like someone who had negotiated with gravity and won. I wondered if the unknown number was gravity or merely noise. I told myself that trust meant waiting for the full truth to arrive under its own steam. I was wrong. Sometimes trust means asking before the train hits the curve. The reveal didn't come as a scene I could storyboard. It came as paperwork. 2 weeks later, at the co-working space, the receptionist waved me over. "Maya left this," she said, "and asked me to give it only to you." It was a manila envelope with my name written on it in her quick, slanted hand. My stomach tensed like it knew the weight of the contents before my shoulder felt it. I took it to my desk, sat and stared. There is a moment before you open a thing when your whole life divides into possible worlds. I wanted to live in the world where this envelope contained a love letter or a folded map of a future trip. I opened it anyway. Inside, a film permit application with her name, a partnership agreement for a 3-part docuseries about love and entrepreneurship in Dhaka, and an email thread printed out on thin paper that made the ink look like bruises. The thread was between Maya and Saad. "Saad, we can position you as co-creator. The sponsor loves the from within the community angle. Maya, I told you I won't be a face for a story I don't control. Saad, control is fluid. You'll have influence. Also, this would be good for Zayn. We'll feature his channel in episode 2. Maya, don't use his name to negotiate with me. Saad, look, I'm trying to help everyone. You, me, him. Maya, then ask me for my terms, not my compliance. Saad, terms noted, but the sponsor wants a romance thread between you and the host. Chemistry tests next week. Below that, an unsent draft with a single line. Maya, draft. I won't sell my life. Not again. The paper trembled in my hand. Not again. The phrase wedged under my ribs. The envelope also contained a familiar blue plastic chair. No, a Polaroid of it, empty beneath the neem tree in her courtyard, sun cutting the edge like a blade. On the back, I need 2 windows, and my throat was dry enough to scrape. I took the papers to the roof where the city sounded like a box of screws shaken by a distracted god. I called her. She didn't pick up. I texted me, "Where are you?" Maya, at the edit suite. Me, can we talk? Maya, tonight. My place, not a fight. A talk, not a fight, I repeated to the tank of water and the satellite dishes pointing like accusations at the sky. I imagined her sitting at a console in a dark room, the glow of a monitor washing her face in a sterile blue sadness, a producer at her shoulder like a crow on a fence. I imagined Saad making promises with other people's futures. I went to her apartment early and waited under the neem tree, the blue chair beside me loyal and ordinary. When she arrived, she looked like someone who had solved a problem and regretted the answer. Inside, she changed into a t-shirt and jeans, pulled her hair down, and sat cross-legged on the rug. "I left you something," she said. "I got it. I wanted to explain before you saw it," she said. "But I also wanted you to know I wasn't hiding the existence of it." "Just the oxygen inside it," I said, my voice flat. She flinched. "Saad wants to use us," she said. I said no. I kept saying no. He kept turning no into a negotiation. I was going to tell you everything. "I just wanted to protect me," I said. "Or yourself?" "Yes," she said, and I hated how true that was. "Both. Did you—" I inhaled as if air had been rationed. "Did you do the chemistry tests?" She looked at her knees. I walked in. I walked out. With whom? Does it matter? It shouldn't, I said, but it does. She swallowed. Saad. He was the host for the test. Something fundamental and foolish inside me tugged a plug, and all my careful water poured out. I had never been so thirsty. So you stood in a room, I said. He pretended to love you. Or he didn't pretend, and a camera recorded the part of you I thought I knew before anyone else. It was a performance, she said. I left before the scene found its feet. And you didn't tell me. I was ashamed, she said simply. Not because of what I did, but because of how quickly I thought about what it might mean for your work, your channel, our future. I became a strategist with my own heart. Is there more? I asked. She closed her eyes. I dated him. Once, she said. Years ago. It ended badly. He knows where the cracks are, and he presses them like buttons. The room leaned. The 2 windows let in 2 kinds of light. The street's tough glow, and the courtyard's softer drift. I felt split by them. I didn't sleep with him, she said. I didn't promise him anything. I told him no, and I meant it. I believe you, I said. I did, oddly. The betrayal wasn't the chemistry test. It was the secrecy that turned a floor into a hole. I'm sorry, she whispered. So am I said, and meant a different sorry. Sorry that love had to walk through this much wreckage to find a chair. We didn't break that night. We frayed. The next week looked like laundry hung indoors during rain. Everything took longer to dry. Everything smelled like having tried. We spoke in careful, solvent sentences. We kissed like apologies. We ate together like polite strangers at a kind ovation. I told Saad to leave us alone. He laughed. Pi, we're building careers here, he said. Don't be provincial. I'm building a life, I said. One you don't get to put lighting on. He rolled his eyes. Drama boys are the worst. I blocked his number. He used another. I blocked that too. He sent a message to my work email with the subject line, "Professional courtesy, and the body don't make her choose between scale and you. You'll lose." My hands shook for an hour. I did not show Maya the email. That's the cruelty of betrayal. It makes you eligible for the thing you hate. One evening, the power cut out. We lit candles and played carom by flicker. I missed easy shots. Maya didn't gloat. You're carrying fury like bricks, she said. Put them down, Zayan. If I put them down, I said, what protects us? Trust, she said. Trust let this happen. Trust let me tell you, she countered. I wanted to argue the grammar of that. Instead, I asked, what's the empty spot on your board for? I pointed at the top right corner, still blank. Evidence, she said softly, that kindness can be an instruction. Did you find it? Not yet, she said. I'm trying to be it. That's slower. In the dark, we fit together like a borrowed coat might fit after it learns your shape. We chose deliberately to stay, not because staying was easier, because leaving felt like a punctuation mark we hadn't earned. We wrote a new rule. No more secrets that pretend to protect. A small rule, a stubborn one. We held it like a match in wind. The city sulked with rain. The bougainvillea shook stubborn color into our mornings. I went to see my mother, who watched my face as if she could read subtitles there. Baba, she said, pouring tea. Love is not a clean house. It's a house where both people clean. What if the dirt keeps arriving from outside? I asked. Then you buy a better mat, she said, deadpan. And you tell your friends to stop tracking mud. We both smiled. It worked better than it should have. On my way home, Saad stood at the corner near my building like a bad idea waiting to be picked. Talk, he said. No, I said. He stepped closer. You're not good for her. Neither are you. I'm good for her career, he said. And that's what she wants, even if you don't want to know it. She wants to make her own choices, I said. And I'll help her keep them hers. Hero lines, he said, mouth twisting. You content, guys? All dialogue, no budget. I walked away. My heart hammered like it was trying to break out of the cage I had built to keep it safe. I did not tell Maya that night. I told myself I was sparing her. I told myself I wasn't starting a small private museum of my own omissions. I was wrong. But sometimes learning is a hallway you only recognize after you've walked its length. The next project on Maya's slate was the hardest yet, a short about a garment worker named Sohana who organized her colleagues after a fire. We went to the site together, a blackened building with its rib cage showing, kids playing cricket in the alley, laundry flapping above like surrendered flags. Sohana met us with a smile that didn't apologize for being as bright as it was. She took us through the rooms, told us how the flames seemed to know names, how she learned to count people out loud so silence wouldn't win. I thought my husband would leave me, Sohana said, sitting on a low stool. He didn't. He learned to cook instead. Maya's eyes glistened, then steadied. She asked good questions. She stayed after the camera stopped to help Sohana's daughter with a math problem. Watching her, I felt the fierceness that first drew me to her, the stubborn tenderness that had nothing to do with cameras or sponsors. I remembered the first day she asked me to start loudly. On the edit, Maya made a deliberate choice. She left in a shot where the microphone cable slipped into frame for a second before she caught it. They'll call it unprofessional, I said. They can, she said. It also shows we were there, that we didn't perfect her pain into something consumable. We argued gently about craft. We agreed wildly about meaning. At night, back in the apartment, we cut our own story into brighter shapes. The windows teamed up, street and courtyard synchronizing their stories. We had small seasons of ease, laughter that didn't sound like truce, touches that didn't audition for permanence, planning that didn't feel like pinning butterflies to cork. Then the premiere. A community screening in a cramped hall that smelled like popcorn and new paint. Sohana wore a sky blue sari and sat in the front row. When her face filled the sheet hung at the front, the audience fell quiet. After the credits, people clapped like it was a practical way to pray. Saad was in the back, of course. He clapped too, slowly, then quickly, matching the crowd because that's what he knew to do. He approached Maya with a bouquet that looked like it had opinions. Congrats, he said. You did it without us. Thank you, Maya said, neutral and firm. Doors are still open, he said. For the romance series, close them, she said. He looked at me over her shoulder. She'll come around, he said lightly. She won't, I said. he shrugged. Markets move, he said, as if that explained human hearts. We went home exhausted and high on something like faith. In the kitchen, while rice steamed and the kettle pinged, Maya looked at me sharply. Did Saad talk to you before? I hesitated a fraction. It was enough. Yes, I said. When? A week ago. You didn't tell me. I didn't want to give him more space between us, I said. I thought I was protecting our good day. She exhaled like a tire losing air. We said no secrets that pretend to protect. I know, I said, guilt crawling cold under my skin. I broke the rule. She nodded. We both did. But rules are only as good as the practice. I'm sorry, I said. I am too, she said, and turned off the kettle as if silencing a thought. We ate in silence that wasn't cruel, just heavy. After, she pulled a Polaroid from her bag and pinned it in the empty space on the board. Sohana and her husband laughing over a pot like it was treasure. Evidence, the picture said without words, that kindness can be an instruction. I slept badly. I dreamed the city had two mouths, and both were full of our names.